Welcome to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us here this Thanksgiving weekend. We are having such a blessed time spending these moments with our family, as we hope you are as well, and thinking about Thanksgiving and those amazing meals come to mind. And so, Gerald, what would you say is your favorite dish for Thanksgiving?
Well, you mean other than the turkey?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, or you can say turkey.
It's the properly cooked turkey is the best. Turkey with a side of turkey.
Turkey with a side of turkey, turducken.
But the stuffing, the dressing, the way Julie makes it is, I'm not giving away the secret family recipe.
Let's hear it.
Nope, because I will come up missing.
You're right. So is it a stuffing in the turkey or is it a dressing on the side?
Well, she cooks most of it in the turkey.
Okay, and then
So
has like some on the side too.
Because you can't fit it all in.
So she does both. Awesome.
Oh, okay.
For me, I would say I love the fact that gravy comes with everything, right? The potatoes, the dressing or the stuffing, and the turkey. Like, I do think that is a must piece. Mm-hmm. But also, what about dessert? What would be your go-to dessert choice, Gerald?
I'm not a big pumpkin pie. I just don't like dessert on Thanksgiving Day is uncommon for me, honestly.
Well, do you remember we like to talk about the good old pecan, and I always wonder, how do you pronounce it, listeners? Is it pecan pie or pecan pie? And Gerald is actually, fun fact, spent, I don't know how many years in Georgia.
6 or 7.
So, how do you say it, Gerald?
Well, I still say y'all, but it's pecan.
Pecan. I say pecan. And then I think about it too much, and I might go back to pecan. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure
So it gets a little confusing.
Yeah.
What about you, Jennifer?
Pecan. I'm with you, Laurel. I guess I grew up more on the northern side of the South, so it's pecan for me. But I love hearing Gerald say pecan.
I know, me too.
So
I'm going to ask him.
I didn't have many of those linguistical carryovers from when I lived in the South. Y'all was one of them. Pecan is the other.
That's another one.
Pecan pie.
So tell us what you think this weekend. Pecan, stuffing, dressing. There's a lot of great Thanksgiving weekend debates here on Money Mentors, but we'd love to hear from you as always. And if you hear anything on today's show that you'd like to weigh in on, you can reach out to us. Now, our team is enjoying Thanksgiving weekend with our families, but we're taking your calls as always. You can leave us a message at any point this weekend at 800-536-8907. Just know if you get that voicemail, we're going to return your call first thing on Monday in the order it was received. Or you can always reach out to us too online and schedule that phone call at matsonfinancial.com. We'd love to hear from you there as well. That's Matson with 2 T's, financial.com. Well, now we turn our attention to shopping this holiday weekend. And for a lot of us, we do it online today. But a couple of decades ago, it was a very different story.
There's more for your life at Sears. Did you get it, Mom? What? The Sears
This was Gerald and me.
Oh, yeah.
You all right?
He's like raising his hand like,
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Opening up the Sears catalog, making our Christmas list out of that. Oh, those are the days. I love it. But just a sign of how much things have changed. Sears once had more than 3,500 stores across the U.S. Today, there are only 5 Sears stores left across the country after the retailer went through bankruptcy a few years ago.
I can't believe they actually have 5 then,
I
honestly.
know, yeah. I think they're in
Liquidation
other
stores.
states for sure. Yeah.
Just trying to get rid of inventory.
Exactly. So this brings up a really interesting question for the two of you. You know, when we're looking at stocks or sectors to invest in today, I mean, I would have never thought, a couple decades ago, these stores would be gone. So how do we know today if what we're investing in, if the companies we're investing in have really long-term staying power? Because just based on this example, you never know what's going to go away soon.
The short answer is we don't know. This is something that you constantly have to be keeping an eye on and looking at and understanding, right? And have a plan. Like, let's go back to the dot-com bubble, too. Let's forget about Sears. In the late 90s, every company came out, and if they had a dot-com and went public, they were instant millionaires. But there was no teeth to that investment, right? There was no growth. There was no revenue plan. And we saw the dot-com crash. So, and a lot of people now are relating that to AI.
Yeah.
Companies come out and say they're using AI, and all of a sudden their stock price goes up. You don't know. You have to have a plan. You have to adjust. There's times to sell, to profit take when your stocks are higher. What are you doing? It's not just, hey, look at things. Look how great things are.
Yeah.
Because the market's way up. Look how great I'm doing. No. What are you doing when things are good? Because things are going to get bad at some point. the market will correct. There will be another financial situation. Like bull markets don't die of old age. Something happens and you have to be prepared for that something.
For sure. And I think that also goes to saying why we believe in diversification at our core, because you can't be overinvested in one thing. A lot of times people will come in for their checkup or that second opinion and they feel pretty confident, but they hear us talk about these other pillars, right? So we've got income, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy. And typically they hear about investments and income, but that's kind of it. So we bring these other aspects in and we start talking about the whole picture. And then when we put this plan together, it's like what Gerald said, it's not about if these things happen, it's when, and making sure you have steady, reliable income over time and a plan in place that evolves and adapts. Because you might think, oh yeah, my mutual funds here, I've got various ones, I feel like we're pretty diversified. Well, we do this analysis and we find out, well, this mutual fund actually has Coca-Cola stock in it, and this other mutual fund has that in it too. So really, you are oversaturated in a certain area, even though you think it looks pretty good on paper. So we'll do that analysis with you, run those different reports so you can see, are you truly diversified? What are the fees that you're paying? And what expense ratios maybe are in place that are adding on top of those fees that you don't realize is eating at your returns?
Yeah, at the end of the day, you just have to make sure that whatever plan you come up with, you're looking at it at a consistent basis. I'm having some tough conversations with clients right now because for the last 2 years, as the markets have really generated these double-digit high returns, I've been pulling growth out of the market and setting it to the side, putting it into the income bucket because they're taking income, or putting it into just maybe a fixed income or a bond fund. And they're like, Gerald, why do we have so much fixed income that's only making 5 or 6%? I'm like, this is just growth we've been taking and the market just keeps running up.
Yeah.
So now it's a matter of, okay, explaining to them, look, yes, we do, but this is all growth. It's a good thing. You still have exposure to the market, but now you have an opportunity fund as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're not in your 30s and 40s to say, yeah, keep it in there, let it ride, right? You can handle a 20% or 30% downturn.
Right.
We are here to invest based on retirement, and that means income and making sure you have goals in place that you can reach those goals. And so like Gerald said, sometimes it does take clients getting used to our different philosophy, but that's why we kind of go back to this approach of we're here for the singles and doubles, not the home runs and strikeouts.
Right.
And here's why that is so very important for today's baby boomers. There's a Vanguard Retirement Outlook study here, Laurel and Gerald, that finds less than half of all Americans today are really ready to continue their current lifestyles in retirement. And obviously that investment portfolio is very, very important here. But this study also says the key difference for a lot of baby boomers is also the home equity that they have if they do own their home. So I'm wondering, does that tend to give people more confidence if they have a home that's paid off or if they have a lot of equity built up because of how home prices have skyrocketed today?
I mean, real estate's definitely one of those investments that typically has been more stable. Is it going to get a 15 or 20% year over year rate of return like some of these other, Amazon and Apple have done recently? Knowing that, hey, I bought my house for this, but it's worth this. So if the zombie apocalypse comes and the market goes to zero, I've still got that. My home is paid off and I've got all this equity. Well, if that's happening in the stock market, let's go back to 2007, 2008. Like the stock market came down, real estate prices
People are like, I don't want to talk about that.
Right. Yeah, I know. You never know what's going to happen, what order it's going to happen, or how it's going to happen. If the stocks start coming down and that's going to affect your lifestyle in retirement, you can't fall back on the equity in your home and say, well, I'll just sell my home. Well, what if no one's buying home?
Right.
It's a great idea to think about that, yeah, I can sell it or it's worth this. And maybe it's not that. Maybe it's, well, I'll just go get a loan on my house, and use the equity if I need to. Well, what if no one's giving loans? And if you don't have income, the credit is harder to get at that point. So use it, but use it as part of the plan. You've got to have that income bucket. You've got to have ready, accessible cash. You have to have money in the bank, that emergency fund. I talk with all my clients about all of those possibilities as it relates to their specific dreams, goals, and desires.
I think it's an interesting thing to think about because, yes, there's a lot of money in homes, and actually like nearly 90% of baby boomers own a home, right? So that's kind of nice to say, oh, I have this hidden asset for my retirement plan. However, we don't base our income plans off of you selling your home. Because like Gerald was talking about there too, if you unpack it, you might be able to sell your home for a pretty decent profit because you've had it for a long time. But now what is the cost to purchase a new home?
Yeah.
That's still really high right now. Now it's different to say we have some clients that decide to downsize because of maintenance, upkeep, location. Maybe they want to travel more, etc. So they might do a condo, right? Or some type of living situation. Then maybe we have some additional funds that we can invest. But our income plans are not based off of you having this home asset because you are going to always need a home asset.
Right.
But we do look at different things to say, should we pay off the mortgage early, right? Or do we look at, no, we kind of have this goose and golden egg thought process of let's keep a low interest loan, invest, and then peel off some of that off the top to pay for like the goose and the golden egg. So different strategies that we use, but it's all based on, like Gerald said, your dreams, your goals, your desires. But we're that sounding board. Our team of experts here, our fiduciary advisors at Matson Financial, helps coach you through all of these different pieces that navigate you to and through retirement.
So for someone who wants to come in and, maybe take that inventory of all their different assets and their investments and really find out where they stand for retirement, how can they get started with you, run some of those reports and figure out where they stand?
You can give us a call for the first 5 callers if you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement. We'd love to sit down with you. You can schedule your discovery meeting with us to get your personalized Matson map and see how all of these different pillars when it comes to income, investments, taxes, legacy, and healthcare play into your entire retirement plan so that way you can retire with confidence. So be one of those first 5 callers now.
You can do that during the break here. Talk to one of our great team members at 800-536-8907. 800-536-8907. Or simply set up that phone call with us right there through our website at matsonfinancial.com. Just click that Schedule Now button there. That's Matson with 2 T's, financial.com. But next, what happens behind the scenes on some very important financial transactions? We'll get the behind the scenes look at Matson Financial coming up next as Money Mentors continues on Wood Radio.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
Thanks for checking out the Money Mentors podcast. And if you have questions for the team at Matson Financial Services, they're getting people ready for the new year, helping with some of those year-end financial decisions too. But if you have some questions that you need to get off your chest, some things you need to knock off your list this year, feel free to reach out anytime at matsonfinancial.com. Click that Schedule Now button to address some questions with the team there. That's matsonfinancial.com. And actually, when we're talking about meeting with you two, it's interesting. I came across an interesting article this week, and I wanted to ask you about this too. I don't know about you two, but for me, buying a car is probably one of the most frustrating transactions ever. I mean,
I will echo that 1,000%.
Right? Don't you hate it?
Horrible.
Hate it. Yeah. Even if you have great credit, you know what you want. It seems like you go into a dealership and the process can take hours and hours and hours. But I recently
came a phone store too. Sorry, but I'm going to say that as well. Those are the 2 things that like instantly kind of frustrate me.
Yes, exactly. But I recently came across a USA Today article from an automotive guy who explained the behind the scenes and why it takes so long, going from, all the customer questions to the salesperson's role in the transaction to what happens behind the scenes with finance, who are dealing with, multiple customers at one time and all the different headaches there, to the delivery process. And it actually helped me understand why you might have to wait, because all these people are dealing with different customers at all the same time. And again, your part of it might be really easy, but they might be dealing with so many different other little headaches behind the scenes. So I wanted you to kind of explain for our listeners here a little about the behind the scenes in your process. What happens after you first meet with our listeners? What goes into the plan that you build for them that they don't necessarily see?
I love this question.
Yeah, we're going to need some extra time today. I think we could dedicate a whole show to this question. But
I think too, from that, transparency is key. And so I would have much more patience walking into a dealership if I was ready. If somebody came up to me and said okay, kind of here's the process. Can keep it high level, but then I have expectations that I know why things are taking so long. I understand the checks and balances.
Yeah.
And that's what I love most about what we do is we talk about it a lot on the radio, but we also talk about it when you call us and we get to know you a little bit over the phone to say, well, tell me about what you're looking for. What do you feel like is missing today? What's keeping you up at night? What's your retirement timeline? And we're going to talk to you about, our first, second, and third meetings. And at those meetings, we're going to guide you through our process. We're going to talk about our fees. We're going to talk about our investing philosophy and how we create this written retirement plan for you that shows all of these things. And there's a lot of conversation, but a lot of guiding because of that transparency up in front, that it's not, hey, we're going to take all your stuff, immediately make a recommendation, because then it's our plan. It's not really yours because we didn't get to understand you. But Gerald, do you want to kind of take a stab at what you do, from they come in, we meet, ready, go.
I just said we're going to need a lot more.
Right.
No, high level, it's, that first meeting is getting to know each other, me explaining the processes, giving you history about Matson Financial, and again, what Laurel says, kind of mapping out what that process is going to look like over the next few meetings. After we leave that meeting, I have a good sense of what your goals are, what you're trying to do, what your concerns are, what your situation is. I take the information that you have, I load it into my software, and I start working on that plan. Okay, if this is your retirement date, what do we have to do between now and then? Okay, maybe that's 2 years away. And then what do we do from post-retirement all the way through end of plan, and then beyond that plan? So it's not just, well, you made it to retirement. It's from the day you walk in that door, we're building that plan till your end of life, and then we're starting to encapsulate what your legacy looks like for your beneficiaries as well, not to make them clients, but to educate them on how your plan is going to impact them. Because if you're just looking at it from yourself, you're not looking at the total plan. So we have to look at all those involved. And that takes a lot of time. So once I load that stuff into the software, now I'm working through the best scenarios as far as what type of returns do we need based off the income that you want. And sometimes it's easy. If you've got $10 million and you only need $1,000 a month, well, that's not going to take me as long as if you have $500,000 in retirement and you need $10,000 a month, right?
Right.
It's a different style. It's a different strategy. Every single one of my clients has an individualized plan based on what they want to do. And sometimes it's not an easy conversation. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know you want, $10,000 a month, but if that's your ultimate goal, you're going to have to work a little longer. It doesn't work at this age because you haven't saved enough, and therefore your risk is higher. So those are all the things we're looking at. The man hours into this, I guess, to put a bow on this, between loading it into the software and working the plan up and looking at all the different options and then presenting that option to you at that next meeting, we're 30 to 40 man hours into it just to give you that plan. It's a full week's worth of work, and we're doing it for multiple clients across multiple platforms, and we're also redoing it for those who have been clients for a while. So it's not a one and done thing.
Yeah.
We're constantly looking to update it as well.
And it's a complete review. I have heard, other financial firms out there, based on new clients that come to us, say, I've got an income plan, but they won't tell me when to take Social Security. And I'm like, well, that's crucial when it comes to income. Another thing is that onus is on the client to take their required minimum distributions. That's not on XYZ advising firm to help you do that or make those recommendations. Or if you do have an insurance investment and you need to look at, well, how should we allocate? Should we change things around? That's on the client to do. We have a totally different philosophy to where we want to make sure you're enjoying retirement. That's what you hired us to do, what you've trusted us to do. So we are going to look and talk about all these little things. And if there's something we need you to do, it's going to be very clear to say, here's what you need to do from here, or what statements you need to give us, or you need to log in and select this, or bring in your computer. We'll walk you through it because we understand that there's some hiccups with technology. It can be very frustrating. So let's remove all of those barriers, and have the best client experience possible, because this stuff could feel like walking in a door of buying a new car or a phone, right? This could be one of those, I think about investments and I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
Right? So let's make that a lot easier. And also what Gerald was talking about is like, we're going to start with your income of what you know you need. But then we really backtrack that and say, okay, well, our health insurance premiums included in that. What do taxes look like then on top of that? When do we take Social Security, and how does this affect your spouse if you are married? Should something happen to you, what would they get? So there's so many different scenarios that our advisors are running behind the scenes to make sure we have the best output possible. And then once we have that second meeting together, we're going to go over, hey, here's what we came up with. Here are our recommendations. Here's everything you've done so far. Here's what we would do, what tweaks we would make, and what this will look like. And then from there, they might say, you know what? I see, Gerald, that you're having me start Social Security at age 66. But what if I took it at 62? Well, funny you said that. He probably has that one already, loaded up in the system, because if you talked about that in your first meeting, he can throw it up and say, here's what 62 would look like. Your income changes by this. Maybe we're offsetting some returns or some market volatility, whatever that reason is. But we can go back and forth and workshop it with you until you feel confident that this is the right plan. But also we make sure we're tying all of these recommendations back to the goals that you talked about day one with us.
Yeah, at the end of the day, my job is to make recommendations that are in your best interest. That is the definition of fiduciary. It is not my way or the highway. And I've created these plans that I feel are perfect to get the client to where they want to go. And they say, nope, I'm not doing that. I want to do this. Excellent. Let's rework that. And now what else has to change? Like, this is your plan. I want to educate why I chose what I chose and why I recommended what I recommended for you. I'm a teacher at heart. Like, that's first and foremost. Then from there, you get to decide what sounds best to you. And that's when we start bringing that plan to life.
And that's why, we look at this as your retirement deserves that level of precision and care. And we take that very seriously here. And we love what we do to kind of make that magic happen and set that in front of you at the second meeting and say, here's what's possible.
Yeah. I think it comes through there at Matson Financial Services. And again, it's why so many of your current clients refer their friends, refer their families. Our listeners refer their friends as well. But it's also why we make that process complimentary to get started, so you can see the difference for yourself. So why don't we open up that invitation for a few of our listeners again this weekend?
Yes. So whether you're planning your first retirement meeting or you've had your accounts kind of on autopilot, let's take that first step today, especially before the end of the year. So you can schedule your discovery meeting to get your Matson map, your personalized roadmap to get you to and through retirement with confidence. So you can call us today at 800-536-8907 or visit us at matsonfinancial.com to start the conversation.
I think you'll be surprised at just how painless this can be. In fact, you're going to walk away with so much great information from those first meetings. The team at Matson Financial is going to go to work behind the scenes, helping you put together that plan for your retirement. Get that Matson map at 800-536-8907 so you can sign up now. 800-536-8907, or take a few minutes online this weekend at matsonfinancial.com and click that Schedule Now button. matsonfinancial.com. But next, the sweet spot when it comes to tax planning for retirement. And are you forgetting some of your income sources to live those years out? We'll talk about that next as Money Mentors continues after the news on Wood Radio.
You're listening to the Money Mentors Podcast.
There are certain advantages these days to getting older, and that includes when it comes to financial planning tax-wise as well. Now, IRA expert Ed Slott tells Morningstar it really pays off that once you reach 59 and a half, that's the age we talk about, where there's no penalty for retirement account withdrawals.
I call that the sweet spot because between 59 and a half, before 59 and a half, you have the 10% early penalty. Between 59 and a half and 73, when RMDs kick in, there are no rules. It's a free-for-all. I used to tell people, you can't get a penalty, you can't do anything wrong, which is like an oasis in the tax law, because this area is loaded with complex tax rules, except for this little sweet spot.
So how do we use this sweet spot, as he calls it, to get ahead? And what difference have you seen that make for your clients when they get later on in retirement?
I don't know about y'all, but I always love a good sweet spot.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
As much as you talk about desserts.
Exactly. But this is kind of a dessert if you think about it. This is added to your regular meal. So when you think about what's going on, up to 59 and a half, y'all, these rules and regulations said you can or cannot do. At 59 and a half, you're unencumbered that you can actually move your money from your 401k, IRAs, do a lot of different things and opportunities in that, and you can really do a lot of tax planning. We like to do tax planning, the first check you ever get, because there are good things that can happen by that. But let's say you're one of those people out there that says, you know what, I'm going to retire early. I'm not going to be 65. I'm going to go at 60, 59 and a half. Got 6 months to finish that out. We can start giving you income out of your assets right there at 59 and a half without penalty. Of course, you got to pay the ordinary tax. But more importantly, we can actually adjust things so that you can say, well, I don't have very much income. Let's say it's a lower income, so you can get health insurance subsidy. Because I'm low income, the federal government will help pay some of those medical costs. And let's face it, they're quite expensive premiums if you have to do it all on your own. So not only can you have the income because you have a Roth IRA and you've done other things like that, but also we can put money away in non-qualified. So you have these non-qualified accounts called tax deferred. You have tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs, and then you have taxable accounts like your IRA and 401k. By having each one of those buckets filled up properly, now you can control your tax basis. You can keep money low, so income, you're not having much, so you can have subsidies and other things going on. Or you can increase it to do the things you want to do with lump sum distributions out of Roth because it's your 50th wedding anniversary, and you're going to take the kids and go on that Alaskan cruise like we did with a client last year. So once again, not entering new tax brackets because you had those monies set up prior for that is so cool.
And also with that 59 and a half, you can still be working and take some money out of your 401k, roll it over, that's what it's called, a rollover, to an IRA. So now, yes, you still have your 401k at your workplace. You can still contribute to it. You're still receiving the match. But now you have money working independently of your 401k. One, that's great for diversification because like we talked about in the last segment too, if you're only in that 401k, you only get to choose from a particular lineup. Not always negative, maybe with what's there, but there's an opportunity to diversify and have this control now over anything that you can invest in. And that's where we can get involved and help you more with that active management strategy. What is so shocking to me is we have these conversations with radio listeners like you or some of our TV viewers and seminar attendees, and they say, we have this really healthy nest egg, $1 million or more, but our advisor or even our CPA, nobody is talking about a tax plan with us. Simply, I have a CPA that prepares my tax, my 1040 every year. And I had this conversation the other day and she said, honestly, I could probably do our taxes on TurboTax with it, right? Because there's nothing special happening. And my advisor isn't having that conversation. He's just kind of kicking the can down the road. Well, like Ed Slott said, you have a 59 and a half to 73 window, that age to take advantage. And now that the One Big Beautiful Bill came out, now we get this really great extension on these lower tax rates. So, we've been talking about it for a while because it was supposed to sunset at the end of this year. We have a little more time now, but it is crucial to really think about your tax strategy. Even if you're one that says, I have a healthy nest egg, we're receiving the income we want, great. But what is that going to do upon your passing? This money goes to your heirs. Is it now passing to your heirs in the best tax efficient way possible? There's probably some movement we can make to make sure that your heirs get it with the least amount of taxation on them. And you have this multi-generational play here for the hard-earned money that you work for.
Yeah, think of it this way. Maybe we can curb or help you reduce your advisor fee by 1%. Maybe less, but let's say it's 1%. Secondly, then we do a little bit better with you on returns, so maybe we get a 2% better return. Not huge, but a nice little factor. And when it comes to taxes, now we lower them by another 2%. Well, that's a 5% difference on $1 million portfolio. That's $50,000. Wow. What would you do with an extra $50,000? And the beautiful thing is, it's not something that you've done greatly different, but by paying attention to all those areas, we picked up a little better situation that can extend your money. There's just so much you can do with that kind of money. even if it's only $250,000, I say that, but a 5% difference is, again, $12,500. Big money's being left behind because you're not paying attention to the little things.
Yeah. So again, just little tweaks can make such a huge difference. And as Laurel pointed out, we might be in this extra sweet spot right now with those extended tax cuts. And again, if you're in that sweet spot age-wise too, this is a great time to have this conversation. So why don't we open up that invitation for a few of our listeners this weekend here on Money Mentors? I know, Gary, Laurel, we've been getting a lot of calls lately about some of these tax changes and calls from our listeners wondering how it impacts them. But how can they get started on doing some of this tax math with you?
If you save $250,000 or more for retirement, this plan is going to include all the areas we talked about, and we'll even look back at a couple of years and show you that you can actually refile your taxes with a 1040X and get money that you've left behind. Ooh. Call 800-536-8907. We're going to even look back in taxes to make sure you get any rebates that are there for you.
Ooh, an extra look back as well. So again, 800-536-8907. 800-536-8907. This is a great opportunity to sit down with your money mentors and go over, okay, what tax savings can I get in the future? But again, as Gary mentioned, also, what might have you missed in the last couple of years here when it comes to some of those tax savings while you're in that sweet spot? Again, that number, 800-536-8907. And as always, you can feel free, to schedule a conversation with your money mentors about some of these tax changes as well at matsonfinancial.com. Just click on the Schedule Now button there and find a time that works with your schedule. That's matsonfinancial.com. Now, obviously, Gary and Laurel, we plan to live off our savings in retirement, but Yahoo Finance says sometimes we actually forget about certain income sources that we could use to our advantage when we get there. So what do you see people forget about when it comes to these money sources, and how do you help get those dollars working for them in retirement?
I'm going to go with abandoned or orphaned, however you want to call it, 401k plans.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? How many times, especially over the last 5 years since COVID, have you or somebody you've known switched jobs?
Yeah, I'd bet a lot, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you think about it, like you might have a 401k from when you're in your early 20s. You didn't even realize you were signed up for it. You can do some unclaimed property searches too on it. But orphaned or abandoned 401ks, meaning you've left an employer, you moved to a different one, and you left that 401k there. And maybe you didn't even know, right? Because it's not really talked about that much to say, what do you do with that old one or that left behind one? We need to make sure you have a conversation with our team to say, hey, what should I do about this? Do I roll it into my current 401k? Do I roll it over into an IRA? We need some tax planning on it, right? There's a lot of different options, but don't leave it behind and forgotten, because somebody's getting paid behind the scenes to do something with it, regardless if you're having conversations with them or not.
And I used to think this never happened. I know we've talked about it before, but I actually had a colleague who found an orphan 401k. Like you mentioned, Laurel, it had opened up when he was in his 20s.
Yes.
And so when he reached his late 50s, he found it. It had $175,000 in it. So
Which is awesome.
I know. So he and his wife moved up their retirement date by like 3 years because they found this money. I thought it doesn't happen, but no, it can happen, and it can actually contain a large amount of money if you just left it sitting there. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
100%. And that's one of those things where you have the conversation with clients and you're like, man, right? If I would have had an active manager like you at Matson Financial reviewing this quarterly, that $175,000 you're talking about probably could be a lot more.
Right.
But,
at least double.
However, we're not going to live in that world. We're just going to say, you found this. It's an opportunity for us to really work hard on it now, because this was money that was forgotten and you worked hard for it. So let's make sure it's working back for you.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go with inheritances. You're like, well, you can't count on inheritance to fund your retirement. No. But it's also important not to overlook any money someone decides to leave you. Mm-hmm. In fact, we had a client who actually left his family farm to a teacher who's teaching agri-science.
Oh.
And when he did this, he said this was his intention. We had a lot of work to do to make sure he was in the best position to receive that asset and take good care of it from a financial point of view. It wasn't just taking care of the land, but what happens to property taxes and all these things that he's not used to. So if you're fortunate enough to receive an inheritance worth a few figures out there, $100,000 or more, or $50,000 or more, it's time to call a financial advisor for assistance in making sure you're getting the best information possible of how to go forward with that benefit that you just received from somebody else.
Because again, even just tax-wise, getting that right advice is going to be key for you and keeping some of those hard-earned dollars as well. If your money mentors can help with that, feel free to reach out with those questions for us today at 800-536-8907. Or again, just go online and schedule the conversation there at matsonfinancial.com. But coming up next, married and getting ready to retire, we'll have 3 questions to go over together first. That's coming up next as Money Mentors continues on Wood Radio.
Getting you not just to, but through retirement. This is the Money Mentors Podcast.
We appreciate you joining us here on Money Mentors. Gary Mattson, Laurel Stewart here this weekend. And as always, if you have questions for your Money Mentors about anything we discuss, you can always do that online at matsonfinancial.com or do a search for us wherever you are on social media too at Mattson Financial Services. Just do a search for us there. We know that for a lot of couples out there today, retirement planning can be complicated, but USA Today points out it's really 2 sets of goals, 2 sets of opinions, and 2 times the savings power too. So it is a little bit complex for couples, but they suggest 3 questions that all couples should tackle together before they retire. So I thought we'd talk about these this weekend because I have a feeling some of our listeners maybe haven't covered all of them with their spouse or significant other here. And these are all very important here as I looked through them this week as we were getting ready for the show here. Number 1, I think is maybe the most important, and it has nothing to do with numbers actually, and that is, what should our ideal day-to-day retirement look like? I don't know. What do you think? Do most couples come in with kind of that picture of what that daily routine is going to be like for them?
It's so interesting that so many different people have different thoughts about this. And one couple, I share their information with everyone I meet. And that is that Tuesdays are her day. She can invite him along, or she can say, I'm just going to do my thing. But Tuesdays are her days to do what she wishes. His is Thursdays. So Thursday he can do what he wishes. Now, once again, if he invites the spouse, they're able to go or not go. But again, it's their day to do whatever they want to. Especially it's good for me because, when you're shopping for Christmas and your spouse is there with you, it's really hard or difficult to find out something that they can't know about.
Right.
But when I have my special day, today's my day, Thursday, I'm going to go to the movies and instead go shopping and the movies.
Ooh.
Then I can make my little secret Santa work. So once again, day-to-day retirement, what it should look like is very, very good. Have that conversation, hobbies and those type of things. But also is that have the time set up so you can have me time. That's very important to have the me time.
But that definitely is one of the things that we talk about around the table in the very beginning, because like you said, Jennifer, it's not necessarily that people have had these conversations before they sit down with us. There's some unique questions that we have, and they kind of sit there and they're like, I didn't know that. Or yes, this is for us. So it's good to have that to flush through.
And sometimes it's saying no. We had a client last week come in, and he's not married. His brother is. And so mom and dad will say, hey, can you run over this weekend and do this? Or would you help me take care of grandma and grandpa and do this? And he's like, I love my grandma and grandpa. I want to help my folks. But really, that's not my responsibility, number 1. And 2, I've got personal things I planned on doing and taking care of. How do I say no to my mom and dad who love me and take care of me?
Right.
And I'm going to take care of them. And I had an answer for him. I said to him, this weekend I'm going to have to say no, that I can't do it because I had some plans I've already committed to. And secondly, I think we should make a pattern or when you want me to be there on a regular basis, I can do that, but sometimes I can't be there. So I need to set up a plan for us that we can do together and have input from both sides, but he's not committed to every weekend because he's, quote, retired and always available.
Yeah.
And I will say, this is not new to us. We are totally used to aligning different visions to prevent unnecessary future conflict. That's what we do, right? We're money managers too, but we also have this key component, and that's what we love about our lives. We're family here. We get to know your family dynamics and help that flow as well for future harmony.
I love that you were able to give him that advice. Again, you've seen it. You've been through it before with your own family, with your own clients. So you were able to, help him navigate what can be a really tricky situation. So again, thinking about the day-to-day and that routine, really, really key. So that's the first question to go over together, or even, again, as a single retiree as well. Number 2 here, we finally get to how will the numbers add up for our shared vision? And a lot of people can differ on how the numbers will work out for them too. Again, sometimes you have savers in a couple and then you have the spender. I would imagine that gets a little bit tricky too.
Yeah, for me, this is one that I really diverse from the article. The article said that you want to try the 80% rule. Mm-hmm. That means that during work, if you're spending $1 in retirement, you're only going to spend 80 cents of that. I really have not found that to be the case, because when clients get ready for retirement, yes, they may not be driving as far to work, or they may not be doing lunches, or they may even have less expenses they would have for clothing or safety equipment, all those. But they're going to be doing other things in retirement, maybe traveling or going to see grandkids' games, going fishing on the weekends or whatever that is. Those are new expenses that you're going to do. So you're used to the amount of money coming in. Why would you cut that down? As long as you have prepared yourself well from a tax planning point of view, why not have the extra income to do those things? Because you don't want to be the person keep putting it off to your 70s, maybe 80s, and say, I'm going to do it then. And then you lose a spouse or loved one, and now you're on your own.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to happen soon enough. Let's do the things you want to do together, your bucket list, and make sure it's possible, but also take advantage of the time you have together.
And our theme here at Matson Financial is we don't stick to the rule of thumbs. That's not something that how we operate, because all of our clients and where they come from, what their goals are, how much money they have saved towards those goals and things are so unique and different.
Yeah, very individual.
And we love that, right? It's that great challenge of, hey, somebody wants to travel and do this. Well, we probably have had somebody who's done something similar, right? So it's not brand new to us, but there's some different complexities with your individual situation and your family too. So we're definitely not an 80-20% rule when it comes to anything. It's about you, first about your dreams, goals, and desires. Then we look at the investments and tie that to it and make sure that you have this successful enhanced retirement plan.
And then finally, we get to number 3, which is probably the one that we want to avoid as much as possible, but is ultra important because of the devastating impact it can actually have on a couple's retirement. And that is, what is our plan for healthcare expenses? After all, we know those healthcare expenses can be quite high, and chances are one or the other spouse is going to need, some kind of long-term care along the way. I mean, this is a really tricky conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think what's going to happen between a couple before they come in, I think they'll have more of the other conversations that we had at a certain level. Mm-hmm. This one, I think it stops with, I don't want to do what mom and dad did or my grandma and grandpa did. I want to be more prepared, that type of thing. They saw somebody else go through it, and they don't want that for themselves or for their kids to have that burden. And so from there's a lot of education. There's a lot of possibilities when it comes to what healthcare plan you should be on, what type of expenses you're going to have, because nobody knows that. We know it can be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. So what we're going to do is make sure we put a flexible plan in place that can offer some of these, long-term care benefits, possibly, if that makes sense for you. We've got Medicare Matt here, and he's going to make sure that you're set up on a really great plan starting at 65, and have conversations with your advising team, and your advising team having conversations with Matt, because we have found that individuals will come to us and they have an estate planning attorney, they've got a tax preparer, they have an advisor, they have a Medicare or health insurance agent, and they have to be the one that connects everybody to make sure they have this plan that works. And it shouldn't be that way, right? Your advisor and your team should be doing that on your behalf. And that's the approach that we take here at Matson Financial.
Yeah, and the questions come around that you don't think about when you're going into retirement. You're not thinking about long-term care. That's way off, right? Just like retirement was way off. Now It's here. So will you self-fund in-home care? Are you going to purchase a long-term care policy? Or are you going to rely on family to step in and help you? Now, we had a client that actually came to us and been a client for a number of years, and he came back and he says, I'm so frustrated. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And he said that my folks have planned on us kids taking care of them in their own home. And as mom left, dad was left behind. And now some brothers and sisters made more time available to take care of mom and dad, and now dad. And others weren't having the availability of time due to choices they made. Mm-hmm. So now the burden's higher on some of the siblings and less on the others, and that's not really fair or equal. So as we worked with that client, and especially dad, we actually said, Dad, you've got money. I know you don't want to spend it, but how about this? Why don't you do some things for yourself, and we're going to have you go out and do things with somebody that you're paying, and when it comes to the kids are going to be here with you, but they need that time away from you. Yeah. And once we put this plan together, it worked very, very well. But nobody was willing to sit down and have that conversation because everybody thought somebody's going to be offended, because you don't want to offend your brother or sister. Mm-hmm. Right. You don't want to say, Mom and Dad, I don't care about you. I'm not coming to take care of you. So all these wonderful things that can come up if it's just talked about transparently.
All right, so some tough questions here. Maybe not just for couples, but again, maybe for single retirees and families as well to address. So think about those questions this week. But for our listeners who are ready to get serious, maybe they've thought through some of these, but they'd like to go over this plan in person and start putting some things on paper with you at Matson Financial. How can they get started this weekend?
Well, I have to say, now is a great opportunity to say, you know what, I've put it off. This is something really important to me. I'm going to call Matson Financial at 800-536-8907 to find that time, right? We're going to dedicate 2 hours to a meeting. We'll send you a checklist so you know what items to bring in, and you don't have to be too prepared. We're going to help you with that heavy lifting, but it's a complimentary conversation to see where are you at now. Let's talk about your dreams, goals, and desires, and some of these questions maybe that you haven't thought of or you haven't been able to have, if you're a single individual or if you have a partner. So this is that time, 800-536-8907 to make it a priority today.
One of our team members will be standing by for a few minutes, taking those final few calls right now. Again, that number, 800-536-8907. And remember, too, you can connect with us online anytime and schedule a chat there at matsonfinancial.com. And be sure to join us here again next weekend for more lessons right here with your Money Mentors.
And remember, retirement is not a destination, rather a never-ending opportunity to exceed in your dreams, goals, and desires.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and have a wonderful weekend.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Matson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Matson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Matson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.
When you want to better understand what's happening with our economy and what to consider for your investment portfolio, where do you turn?
In my spare time, believe it or not, I read the Wall Street Journal and The Economist because I like to be up to date on the investments that I might be making in the future.
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Search and subscribe to Money Mentors from Matson Financial Services.
It's the topics that matter to me.
It's meant for everyday people to understand, and you don't have to stress about technical terms and stuff. They just say it like a real person.
Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app. You can even listen with Alexa.
Playing Money Mentors from Amazon Music. Here's the latest episode.
Search, subscribe, and listen now on your favorite podcast platform or connect at matsonfinancial.com.